High above the valleys of Wicklow stands a monument that's older than the pyramids. Behind me is the summit of Seefin, and what crowns this peak is a passage tomb that we're going to explore today. Seifin's Passage Tomb. It was built approximately 5,000 years ago, and it's amazing that it still overlooks the land, overlooks the valleys, the mountains. And today we're going to climb up, we're going to explore, and we're going to unearth the stories of the builders, the myths, and the very meaning of it.
In this episode of History Hooked, we uncover the lost voice of a Neolithic hilltop, examine why people risked building so high, and seek to understand what this tomb meant then and now. Located near the townland of Kilbride in County Wicklow, the tomb sits atop Seefin, which rises to approximately 621 metres. Roughly 2,040 feet above sea level. From here, you look out over valleys, ridges, and even towards the Irish Sea on a clear day. So why place a tomb at such a height in such a remote and exposed location? The climb itself is telling. You leave the lower woods, the track gets steeper, the weather more changeable and unpredictable. In the Neolithic era, hauling stone up here would have been an immense challenge, yet the builders chose this summit. The elevated location may have served multiple purposes, such as visibility, dominance of the landscape, sacred alignment, and according to the local tourism office, Seefin and its neighbouring peaks form an extended network of hilltop passage tombs. Intervisibility between monuments seems to have been an important feature here. So in other words, they could see one another. They were part of a broader ritual, or maybe even a territorial system. The Irish name Seefin or Seefin, meaning seat of Fionn, indicates the mythological layering that arrived later. But long before Fionn McCool, there were farmers, builders, people placing their dead or their memories in these heights. Now let's step a little bit closer to the monument itself. The tomb is described as a passage grave, meaning a long entrance passage leading to an inner chamber, usually covered by a cairn of stones. And at Seefin, the tomb sits beneath a mound approximately 24 metres in diameter and about 3 metres high, roughly. The entrance passage is roughly 7 to 10 metres long, opening into a cruciform chamber with 5 recesses located inside.
It's here at the narrow doorway that the moments absolutely shift from the wind-blown summit of the mountain down into the narrow passageway. And if you look inside, you could almost imagine a torch down there or daylight coming in and lighting up the whole chamber. Let's go have a look.
The builders stacked massive slabs, lintels, curbstones with no modern machinery, and excavations in 1931 by RAS McAllister revealed no human remains or artefacts at Seefin. This raises several possibilities. The tomb may never have been used for burial, remains may have been removed and brought elsewhere, or it may have served as a symbolic or ritual function rather than purely funerary. This emptiness itself is intriguing. It challenges the simple assumption. Tomb equals burial. Maybe it was always more than just that. And according to the research, decoration still survives here in the tomb. At least 2 side stones in the passage bear lozenge shapes, concentric patterns and quartz inclusions. Such symbolic markers tie Seefin to the wider tradition of megalithic art across Ireland, for example at Newgrange, North and elsewhere.
so hard to believe that in here it's so peaceful. It's like a really bright, warm summer's day, and if you step outside, it feels like we're going to be blown off the mountain. It's that bad.
In terms of structure, the mound is built with a curb of large boulders around its base, then smaller stones piled above, forming a conical shape which has partially collapsed over the millennia. Now, early descriptions report a deep fosse or ditch all around it, then a circle of rocks placed edgeways, which you can see. Inside, there are smaller stones piled up about 20 feet in height, and that report comes from a description in 1877 by William Domville Hancock.
What you see here today is, of course, somewhat weathered. And when you look at the stones here just behind me, the mound would have originally came out to that. That's where the end of the ditch would have been. But it's amazing that 5,000 years ago this was built, and it's somewhat similar to what it was. Even though the immense strong winds, torrential rain, snow, the elements, everything. And yet, it's still standing here with us.
Around 3300 BCE, Ireland entered the later phase of the Neolithic. Farming communities were settled, building monuments, clearing land, shaping the landscape. And Seefin is dated broadly to approximately 3300 BCE. The choice of a summit tomb suggests that these communities viewed landscape differently. Hills were not just places to avoid, but places to claim, to mark, and to signal. As one writer put it, the summits may have been chosen so the original builders could claim ownership over all they see by placing their ancestors far above the lands. So
Look
in other
across
words,
this landscape.
these tombs were as much about making statements as they were
Valleys,
resting places.
the fall away, the ridges that stretch out. And for 5,000 years, someone has stood here, pointed, and sought this place in their terrain.
Archaeological research in the 1960s saw early land clearing near Seefin, indicating activity in the surrounding area in the Neolithic age. Also, the fact that nearby peaks such as Seefingen and Seehan also bear large cairns suggests that this was a network of high status ritual spots rather than isolated oddities. So, what might the people have believed? Well, passage tombs have long been interpreted not just as burial chambers, but as gateways between worlds, between the living and the dead, the earth and sky, especially around what is now known as Halloween, or Samhain in the Celtic times. The corbelled chamber, the narrow passage, the elevated place, all combine into a structure charged with symbolism. When you crouch to enter the passage, you are physically descending from open air into stone. It is a liminal moment. Think of it not only as a tomb, but as a ritual journey. Over the millennia, the original meaning of the monument became shrouded. Folk memory layered new mythologies onto the tomb. The name Seefin, literally seat of Fionn, McCool, connects the site to the legendary hero of the Fionn. And according to legend, Fionn sat here, surveying his hunting grounds. And nearby, Glenismole Valley was reputed to be his hunting domain. And myth doesn't replace history, it enriches it. The presence of Fionn in the storybooks doesn't tell us what the Neolithic people thought, but it shows how powerful these places remained in the landscape for thousands of years after their creation. A curious addition to this tomb was an early Christian cross, and it has been noted on a roof slab of the tomb. It's well weathered away now, but it does suggest the site retained ritual or symbolic importance far into the historic era. Additionally, the tomb appears on 19th century antiquarian surveys. Hancock's 1877 description, which we quoted above and earlier, shows how this summit monument has captured the imagination of generations. So you might ask yourself, what is the lasting significance of Seefin Passage Tomb? Well, it reminds us that 5,000 years ago, communities were shaping the landscape on a large scale. It shows that height, horizon, sight lines mattered. These were monuments placed where they could be seen and see. It challenges simple definitions of tombs. Perhaps they were ritual, territorial, symbolic as much as burial. And it also connects into myth and memory, the hero legends of Fionn, the continuing presence of the site in local folklore. And standing here on the summit, you can feel the weight of time. The stone cairn is not silent. It speaks across millennia. It speaks of people who wanted to mark something, maybe an ancestor, maybe a boundary, maybe their place in the cosmos. And for us today, Seefin is a bridge between then and now, between ancient ritual and modern wanderer, between stone and sky. As we leave the summit, just take a look back once more at the cairn, silhouetted against the sky. It will remain here long after we are gone, and maybe that was the point.